What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Stalker 2. We got some previews today, and they are pretty glowing. They kind of range a little bit, at least in the difficulty angle, where it's like, okay, well, how much is too much? But overall, from everything I've seen, I watched about 5-6 different videos on it, read a couple different articles. The game is looking really, really good. Now, you have kind of the highest of extremes, and maybe it's not extreme. We'll find out at the end of the day. But you have people saying, like, hey, this could be Xbox's game of the year or just game of the year. Because I wonder, like, is there a difference between Xbox game of the year versus just going up against every game? But, you know, you have that as a high, right? Where it's like this game could make a significant impact. And then you have kind of the low of just this is a rock solid game. Like, I think this is going to be a really fun one. Now, for me, it's like, you know, I'm not too into Stalker. I've never played any of the Stalker games. This was going to kind of be my introduction to the franchise. I played Metro, and I've, you know, watched some videos and read some things about, you know, if there are comparisons, and it seems like there are. Seems like there's a couple things that you can link, but, you know, Stalker is kind of its own entity, and the game being on Game Pass, like, that's a huge thing for me. It's like, hey, a really, really good game at worst, and maybe even higher than that at best, and it's coming out November 20th, comes out on Game Pass. I'm all in. I was always going to check this game out, but to be honest with you, the previews today got me more excited, and because of Game Pass, the only thing I can really lose is time, right? Like, if something goes horribly wrong. And the only thing I could see going wrong is that difficulty. Now, it seems like, you know, that is a core kind of fundamental thing to Stalker, right? Like, you know, you have limited weapon space or just inventory space. The weapons degrade. The enemies will drop them, right? So it's like you can pick them up, but they'll already start maybe slightly destroyed a little bit. The aiming, like, isn't perfect. Like, it's a little wobbly, but it's on purpose, right? Because, like, fights in this game are supposed to be challenging. In fact, you're kind of not supposed to fight when you can, right? If you can use stealth, if you can use distractions, if you can use light or darkness to help you out, you want to do that, right? Because getting in like a serious firefight against, whether if it's humans and you get into a firefight with them, if there's too many of them, like, you're gonna get overwhelmed pretty fast, right? Like, a headshot can take them out, but it can also kind of take you out as well, right? And these are things I didn't know too much about Stalker, I guess, going into these previews, and it's like, okay, this is one thing that might be a little deterrent for me. I'm not great at first-person shooters, so when you have first-person survival shooters, like, that's a little tough on me. But, you know, I can really, what I guess I respect about it, and what also, you know, I kind of learned in today's previews is the amount of different ways of handling a situation, and even different ways that quests can kind of go down, right? Like, you don't have to accomplish all of these different side quests and stuff, and they are meaty, though. Like, they do have substance to them. I saw one preview that talked about kind of going through this house, but it was in the middle of a field, and the field would literally knock you out. Like, it would make you drowsy, so you have to constantly be drinking energy drinks. And just, you know, that being one example, but there's ones where you'll, like, attack, like, a bandit camp or whatever, and it just seems like there's really good diversity there. So survival, first-person shooter with a lot of diversity in the quests that they give you, and then how you accomplish those quests, right? So there's not necessarily only one way to handle something. That's very cool. That might, you know, I'm not great with those games, to be honest with you. Like, games that give you the choices, right, of how to handle it, even like a Hitman, which is, you know, obviously very different, but does give you like 80 ways to handle a situation. I've gotten better as time has gone on with like a Hitman, but I do tend to struggle when I start. Like, when I fire that thing up, I'm like, you know, I don't really know what the game wants me to do, because the answer is the game kind of wants you to just do whatever, right? Like, learn things and figure it out, and figure out that there's more than one way of handling a situation. So I respect those games. I can get into them, but they always kind of take me a little bit. So that's something I think I got to be aware of with Stalker 2. But, you know, there was a ton of praise for, like, the acting. There was actually a lot of praise for the performance, which I thought was really good, right? I saw a lot of people say, whether it was on Xbox or on PC, there is, I think, the frame rate difference between Series X, I think, is 60 and Series S is 30, but they're working on a 60 like patch to do on the Series S. So, you know, in terms of like actual performance of the game, it seemingly is pretty good that people were able to play right now. And, you know, people got to play about 3 hours of it. I think it was the opening 3 hours of the game. So it's, you know, it's by no means the entire game. In fact, it's maybe what, like less than 10% of the game, but people came away pretty impressed. So, you know, look, I'm not going to make my whole decision based off what other people say. I got to make the decision based off myself, but the type of game that I'm hearing that this is, what I've been seeing, I was already, like I said, you know, being on Game Pass is an easy try. Any game that's on Game Pass that's new is honestly like a try for me. Like, why would I, especially in this place that I'm at, but also as a gamer, like, why would I pass that up? And then on top of that, for the game to have a lot of positive thoughts about it, going in, right now I'm still kind of in the thought process of, hey, it's seemingly going to be a solid game. I'm going to check it out. Like, there's nothing you lose by trying it out, especially on Game Pass. But then, it might actually surpass, especially for me, because I don't know how high my expectations are for it, right? I'm kind of like, all right, you just show me what you got. I could be blown away. So I'm getting more excited for it for sure. We got a lot of games still coming in the next month before we get to it, but this being one of the last major games to come out this year, I think that kind of helps too, where it's like, okay, we're calming down, and then we get Stalker 2, and it's like, okay, it can kind of prove itself. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.